Hello, my name is Tim. So my three words when I was asked what is at the core of change for the good were strategy, relationships, and energy. So I'm going to talk through those three words a little bit or why I chose them. So the strategy, and for me, this really comes from some having some time to reflect over the last few months on all the work we've been doing and I've been doing with friends in many places in the world, and just wanting to have a chance to articulate it. So there's something about beginning to see patterns of three levels of work I'm in. And of course, it's not as simple as this, and of course they all overlap, but this kind of clarity seems to help me, so I'll throw it out there. So the first one is so strategy. So on some level, there's and this may be more the kind of traditional work of moving around resources, the strategic level of work that's involved in terms of, we could put this person here or we could reallocate resources there. It's the kind of tinkering with the system, the going in and enabling things to work better and function more well, And I think there's also something within this piece which is about the capacity to understand the dynamics that exist within situations and understand all the different power relationships and roles that are going on. There's a piece of being able to have the skillful means to maneuver through situations strategically, And it's a friend of mine was recently talking about the capacity to be inscrutable. This isn't always just about completely laying your cards on the table, which has been my tendency for a very long time, I think. And so there's something about that. So this strategic piece of work. So that feels to me like a key essence to how we work together, the capacity to navigate our way through what are often very complex societal, organizational, or human situations, systems, dynamics in such a way that we're being strategic and seeing the bigger picture and making good choices. So there's another piece, and I have this tendency to think they sink down deeper. But I don't really know what that means, but that's how it feels. So the second piece there feels to me that it's about relationships or relational. So, if there's a strategic infrastructure that all this work is happening at, there's also a relational infrastructure or a social infrastructure that all this work is happening at. And that is about, how do we really get things done, which is through the relationships we have with each other. And so this piece, I think, is the root of a lot of the participatory leadership work that we've been involved in the art of hosting community. And so much of what we've been talking about for years, I think, in terms of, how do we really amplify and accelerate change for good out in the world is like, okay, well, we increase the capacity for people to be in quality relationships with each other that then ensures we have long-lasting results. If we don't have good relationships with each other, quite simply, the results won't last because people don't care enough about them to stay in it. And they don't care enough about each other to stay in it when they disagree. And there's no doubt for me that the complexity of problems we're faced with at the moment, whatever the level of change we're involved at, whether it's just within myself, within my family, within my organization, my community, society at large, the complexity of the problems demands that we have very, very diverse perspectives coming together to try and overcome the challenges we're faced with. And that also demands that we're able to understand that whatever perspective I bring is not the truth. It's just a piece of the puzzle. And if we can put all these puzzle pieces together, we can see a quality of bigger picture that allows us to act more wisely and build more sustainable results. But we can only do that if we trust each other. We can only do that if we start actually operating from a place of friendship. And I also feel that we're in a period of inevitable and increasing chaos right now, environmentally, socially, financially. There's a massive amount of fragmentation seems to be taking place all over the world. So this piece, the only way we're going to get through this level of fragmentation is by coming together, is by turning to each other, is by building a quality of relationships that gets us through change. I was talking to my mate Bob Stilger the other day about what's just happened in Japan, and he sent me through a whole list of Twitter responses that he had got that were basically these beautiful responses that were talking about, when the crisis hit, people really started caring for each other. And so there's no question for me that the challenges we're faced with right now demand that we start to care for each other. We start building a quality of relationships that we've never seen or never had before when we thought about getting work done. And so that's exciting for me. And then the third piece, and this is where I really feel like I'm an apprentice, where I feel like I'm a complete student, is around energetic. And so so the best way I can describe this, I've been working together with a fella in Ontario called Gerard, who's an Ojibwe elder, and we were doing some work around kind of transforming the culture of youth organizing and youth engagement across across Ontario. And he came up to me at one break and he was like, "Tim, I notice you're watching the people a lot." And I was like, "Yeah, I'm watching the people a lot. That's kind of what I'm doing. I'm tending to the relationships in the room so that we can get a really beautiful quality of result that lasts." And he's like, "Oh, that's great." He said, "What I'm doing is," he's like, "I'm looking out the window, and I'm noticing what the weather's doing, what animals are going past." We were in this beautiful kind of rural location in Bancroft, in Northern Ontario. He's like, "I'm watching the fire, seeing how the fire is reacting. I'm noticing the air quality." He was paying attention to a completely different set of relationships than I was. I was almost just looking at the people. And so there's something I know from experience is that if I'm working with someone on a team in this work who has some attention towards the energetic level of what's going on, it creates a better quality of gathering and also a more resilient result. And so I feel like this energetic level where the processes we're running become ceremony, that is some of where this real transformation is taking place, that none of the strategic architecture lands unless we have the quality of relationships to hold each other, and then none of those relationships can truly last unless they're rooted in some sense of the sacred or sacredness. And so the basic belief that we live in an interconnected, interdependent world where our relationships to each other and the planet are sacred, like that demands that we're working on a level that's energetic. That demands that we're working on a level of the unseen. And I don't really understand it. I feel a complete apprentice student here, but I know that it's an essential element of all the work that I'm doing at the moment. And I know that when I've got someone in the room who intuitively I can see as a master at this, it just transforms the work we're engaged in together. So I think that's it for me. And obviously it's not as simple as like, here's your top 3 ingredients for change for the common good. No, but here are 3 things that I'm noticing that I'm deliberately paying attention to. And when I'm pulling together teams of people, because I'm getting invited into all kinds of places, whether it be, transforming the downtown of Halifax, they're taking on the youth mental health system in Ontario, or working around finance systems in the UK, just really beginning to think about how do we form our team so we can really make sure that we're thinking about these 3 key areas. So, who have I got that is brilliant at maneuvering strategically and working strategically? Who is on our team that can pay attention to the quality of process that builds the relationships we need for this to last? And who in our room is really stewarding kind of ancient human wisdom, the stuff that lasts no matter how many civilizations rise and fall? So that's piece. And then I think the last piece there, if there's a 4th piece, I'm allowed a 4th word. There's something about harvesting, or what in the Bacana world we call illumination, which is the capacity to stop and make visible what we're learning to ourselves and make visible the stories of what we're doing, so that 1, we can see ourselves clearly, but 2, we can make the choices that are available in the world visible. You know what? Our systems for serving young people are collapsing all around us, and there's an existing viable alternative. And I just know about that because I heard a 20-minute radio interview with an incredible organization in Halifax called Leave Out Violence that is doing incredible work with young people. And yet there's all these people all over Nova Scotia talking about, oh, we know we need to work differently with young people, but we don't know how. Well, here's an example. So this piece of the storytelling that needs to accompany all of this work also feels critical. So anyway, thanks for listening. Lots of questions, more than answers. See you later.